So just to catch up on where we are, we have, and you can see, obviously you can see our dashboard, but we got some players who are just charging it right now for the first time. They've been waiting. Other players like is Ari on? Yeah, Ari is on there. He's probably taken more swings than most organizations in the country by himself, as you already know from the dashboard. And he's already seen some great improvement on connection and plane. So I think, the key will be, like you said, start with the setup for the guys who are just getting started. And if we could jump in, you and I will chat a little bit about, the key scores and information they'll be getting out of it. We can go back and forth and then take any questions everybody has and go from there.
Perfect.
So I'll jump right in, folks. Thanks for jumping on tonight. I know some of you were waiting pretty excitedly to get set up, and others of you, I'll just name Ari again, like Ari, who this thing was charged before he even took it out of the box and his bat was waiting. Some of you have jumped in and sent me video and sent Chris video, and, we've already worked on improvement. So we asked Jeff to jump right back in again. And Jeff, I'm going to tell you, and hopefully the rest of your team knows, the involvement that you all have had from day one, and even the support you guys provided before we did this has been second to none. The hand holding from Gary and you has been amazing. So, for you to jump on a moment's notice just to get people up and running, it speaks volumes about Blast. We're thrilled to finally be on board. Nobody knows the story of you getting started at Blast and us meeting at the arena, I don't know, like 2 years ago. And we're finally here. So the truth is, we're thrilled to have you on board, and even more thrilled at the way you guys have treated us from the outset. So seriously, thanks for jumping in to help everybody.
Yeah. And thank you for that praise. It has been quite a journey, and I definitely appreciate everybody's time. And my roles evolved since Jordan and I were introduced. He's right. About 2 years ago when I was living in Manhattan, I took a city bike up to, where are you guys? 52nd or something?
60th Street. And yeah, you came, dude, it was like your first day or like your first week, and the thing wasn't charged, and we were like, oh my goodness, let's get started. That was great.
Yep. Not a good look, but won you over eventually. So my roles evolved from the sales role to now work with all of our clients. I help with data analysis and implementation. So Jordan, with that, I can go ahead and get started on getting these guys up and running, or do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, listen, everybody, for those of you who've already started, be patient. These first few minutes, Jeff from Blast Motion is going to help everybody else that's on the call get set up and rolling, for everything from taking it out of the box to charging it to setting up the app and getting rolling, getting on your bat, making sure you're doing everything right. Even for those of you who have done that already, pay attention to this, because if you've skipped a step or done something wrong, you're not going to get the results you want. From there, Jeff's going to jump into some of the key metrics, the key data that you'll be looking at when you use your Blast Motion sensor. And, I'll share some thoughts on what we look at and how we've already been helpful with, again, I'm going to point to Ari because he's taken, like I said, more swings than some organizations in the country. And he's working very diligently, and we've assigned drills to him already through both KGO and Blast Motion and Blast Connect to improve his swing. And we're already seeing some great results. So with that, Jeff, jump in right on the setup and let's roll right into the key metrics.
Sure. So everybody, step one, when you get your sensor, is to take it out of the box and place it on the charger. Without a charged sensor, you're not going to be able to pair it. It's not going to be active. You'll notice there's no on-off switch. So as soon as that thing is charged and as soon as that thing starts moving around, it will begin to blink. A green light or an amber yellowish light are good. A red light is bad. You're going to have an issue. You'll probably have to contact our support team with that, and I'll share their contact information at the end of this meeting. So step two, Jordan should have sent you an invite. It would have come in the form of a link in an email from him that you guys just need to click and fill out a couple pieces of information. If you hadn't had that invite yet, I would search your inbox or contact Jordan after this to obtain that. And if you've had a profile previously, when you go to fill that form out, you'll get an alert. It'll say this email is already in use. No big deal. Let Jordan know and he'll give me your information. And what I have to do is just transfer you over into your account. The cool thing about that is all of your past history will automatically populate. So even if you've taken swings on the free app for 5 years previously, all of the premium metrics from the paid app will go back and repopulate for all those old swings. So you'll have a pretty solid baseline to work off of. So once your profile is set up and once your sensor's charged, all you have to do is download the Blast Baseball app. It's a little blue square, and pair that sensor. So the steps are a little bit different if you use an iPhone or an Android. So if you guys do have your Blast Baseball app handy, open it up, and I'll run through the iPhone first. Android, it's going to be very, very similar, so feel free to follow along. The one thing to note, if you are using an Android, when you open up the app for the first time and log in, it'll ask you if you want to, on some versions of Android, I'm not sure which ones specifically, but it might ask you to enable location services. Definitely do that. Or if you've already opened up your Android app and you maybe forgot to do so, or you're having an issue pairing your sensor, go back and make sure for that specific app or for the phone, the location services are turned on. Now for iPhone and Android, Bluetooth also has to be on and active in order for the app to pick up that sensor and for the information to be communicated between the sensor and the app. So both for iPhone and Android, I'm using an iPhone. You guys are going to go to the menu in the top left-hand corner of your screen and click on My Sensors, first option right down there. And sorry if you're having trouble seeing my phone. But from there, you're going to hit the plus sign in the bottom left or the Add Sensor option and either scan the back of your sensor with the camera feature that activates right away, or you can manually enter in your serial number. Now, from there, it'll ask you to just move the sensor around to activate it. It says flip it up, flip it down. Just make sure it's charging. The app should pick up that sensor pretty much right away. You should hear a ding, and you should be good to go from there. Now, if for some reason the scanner isn't working and it's not picking up the serial number, there's a little having trouble option or need more help, either on the all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen or in the bottom right-hand corner of the camera feature. That may come in handy now. It will certainly come in handy down the line. So what that does is if when you're pairing your sensor, for some reason it's not working, or if you have an older sensor and the barcode is worn off and you can't read the number, tap that need more help option. And what that does is it sends out a signal from your phone and picks up any active Bluetooth signal in the area. So as long as you're not around a Bluetooth speaker or other blast motion sensors or anything else that sends out a Bluetooth signal, what it'll do is it'll pick up that sensor and pair it right then and there. So that's a good option for you guys. And if anybody continues to have trouble, feel free to mention something in the chat and just let me know what's going on and I can address that at some point in the call, or feel free to let Jordan, let Coach Baltimore know, and he'll communicate that with me, and I might have to get you guys in touch with our technical support team. Again, that technical support team is going to be a great resource for everybody here on the call, and I'll be sure to share their contact information at the end. They're available by email, phone, and squash these sorts of technical issues, sensor issues a lot faster than I can. So once that sensor's paired, and of course charged, you're good to go. When it's paired, you will see a little green icon up in the top right-hand corner of your screen with a number in it, anywhere between 0 and 100. That's just the battery level of your charger. If it's green, it shows that it's paired and you're good to go. In order to take swings, you'll access the Live tab, the second in from the right, and you'll click on Start Practice. Once you're there, you can play with a couple of different layouts depending on what you're working on. My favorite layout is the plane connection and rotation layout because that has your average scores, which we'll get into in a second, as well as every other metric we are able to collect. And you can take swings and look for live feedback. Now, I have my own opinions about a good way to collect data and certain things that you guys should be paying attention to when you're swinging. That might be different from what you guys do at New York Empire. I know Jordan and I spoke about my opinions here, and I do think that at least some of them align. So Jordan, if you don't mind, I just want to share a few things and tips on approaching the data. And if I am stepping on any toes, feel free to interrupt. But I personally don't think it's a good thing for players to take a swing and turn around and stare at the numbers and then figure out that, okay, like after just one swing, figuring out how they can manipulate their bat or manipulate their posture just to take swings to satisfy what shows up on their phone. Guys, I want everybody to keep in mind that that blast motion in our metrics is not and never will be the end all be all solution. It's just a tool to help you and help your coaches develop you faster and provide more information to come up with more targeted plans for who you are as a player. So if you're trying to make these massive jumps swing to swing, I don't think those are valid ways or just good ways of making improvements. Player development happens, day to day, month to month, and year to year. And because of how ingrained certain swing mechanics are into your muscle memory, I think making these massive changes just tends to throw everything else off. So just keep in mind when you're swinging, don't just swing to satisfy the metrics. A lot of the analysis and a lot of the development does not happen in real time. Most of the time your coaches will be crunching the numbers on deep, on the back end in a dark room, comparing blasts information to K motions information to hit tracks information in order to roll out a plan for you guys. So make sure whatever your coaches are communicating with you, stick to that plan. But I'm going to cover a few things here today and a few resources that are available in Blast to allow you guys to get started. So Jordan, again, does that all make sense? And do you think that aligns with how you guys are approaching it? Think so. Okay. I did have a question in here from Ari. Sometimes when I swing, the sensor doesn't pick up the swing. Is there a certain reason for that? I believe I have your metrics pulled up here. So the only reason, well, there's two reasons. One, your bat speed is going to be below. If your bat speed's below 30 miles an hour, that swing won't register. Another reason is if you are hitting a wiffle ball or a tennis ball, there's kind of a window that you need to fall in. If you swing too hard, that won't pick up, the vibrations won't pick up. And if you swing too soft, the vibrations won't pick up. So if you're not hitting a baseball, sometimes every single swing doesn't register. Just keep in mind, got to swing above 30 miles an hour, got to hit something similar to a baseball if you want every swing to register for sure, or heavier. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So as you guys are taking swings, you're collecting data and you're creating this baseline. And this baseline is for your coaches and for you guys to work off of. Now, again, you can try to make some adjustments in real time if you think it's appropriate. I think there are certain metrics that you can address right then and there and really pay attention to them flashing up on your phone. But again, most of the analysis I think should take place every couple of weeks when you go and revisit whatever plan or whatever drills you guys are sticking to. So what I'm in right here is Blast Connect. This is the portal where all the swings are going to be sent. As far as what to collect, how many swings to collect to establish a solid baseline, I would say anything above about 200 swings is good. I know due to the times, it might be difficult to get swings in a more dynamic environment and not just take swings off the tee. In the past, I would say if you gave me 200 swings off the tee, then I don't know if that paints a really good picture of your game swing, and I don't know how I would feel about working off of that data. So guys, keep in mind, if that's all you have available is a tee, a net, and a bucket of balls, if you gave me 332 swings off a middle belt high ball sitting on a tee, try to put the ball up and in, try to put the ball down and away, try to put the ball out in front of home plate, really challenge yourself. Try to make that environment as dynamic as possible. So you are taking different swings, your bat's at different angles, your body's at different angles. And that allows the data to tell a lot more of a story rather than just going through the motions and hitting that same pitch middle.
So Jeff, one of the things that we've talked about as an organization, even when we use whether it's K motion or obviously blast motion, like you said, if you don't have the opportunity to take live swings, because very often, like let's take Derek Jeter for an example, just because people have seen his on-deck swing or had seen it for 20 years, right? He would swing violently down and up, down and up, down and up for whatever reason, right? That was his habit. That was what he was cueing before an at-bat. If he were to do that on blast motion, he'd have some pretty bad data, right? And it's not indicative of his real game swing. So even if you have no live swings that you can take, learning the right swing dry off a tee, even if it's not exactly the swing you take in the game, doesn't hurt. It only sends you in the right direction to help your game swing. So is it best to use blast with live pitches, of course, because that's the closest to your game situation. But for all of you who are swinging off a tee right now, that's okay. Even if it's not exactly your game swing, it's going to show you what you need to be doing to improve your swing in game. So it's not a bad thing to be only swinging off tee, even if your tee swing is slightly different or even vastly different than your real swing, because you're going to learn the right movements regardless of what swing you practice with. It's going to point you in the right direction.
Yep, good point. And off the tee is actually an environment where I really think that field-based adjustments and actually trying to make those big leaps makes more sense. And it's easier to feel that when the ball is not moving and you can think about a lot less and focus more on your body. So I'll actually spend some more time on those metrics today. So once that baseline is established, you guys have a couple of resources available to you here in Blast Connect that will help point you in the right direction. I know you guys have a really, really solid group of coaches there who are communicating a lot of information with you guys. But again, if you want to take the reins of your own development, or even if you're curious and want to explore it a little bit, to maybe ask your coaches why you're working on a specific area versus another area of your game because that's what you feel your identity is, definitely encourage you guys to take a look here. So
Jeff, I'm gonna speak in one more time real quick, and I'm gonna use. I hate to keep coming back to Ari, but he's working so much with our KGO platform with K-Motion and now with Blast Motion, and it should come as no surprise. And we were thrilled that the information that we were getting about his body movement lined up exactly with the information we got about his bat movement, and the drills that we assigned were right in line from both measurements. Right, we were looking at his body. Now we're looking at the bat. And both of them pointed to, here's what you need to work on to improve your swing. And interestingly enough, the blast motion data is so tangible, right? Because you can see your bat and you're measuring the bat live, that it became very tangible. And Ari saw immediate results, more so from, even though they were the same drills and the same work, he saw immediate and faster improvement from the blast motion data and drills that we assigned than he did from the KD, even though they were both super important. But it was great to see that all lined up. So interesting. And we're using KGO platform to assign individual workouts to everybody.
Excellent. So once your swings are here, and one more thing I want to cover, actually, I apologize, I need to take a couple steps back, is syncing your swings. So if you hop back into the app real quick, this is only available on the iPhone. There's a couple of settings that you can change that will upload your swings in real time and also upload your video in real time. So back in the app, if you go back to that menu in the top left and click on settings, which I think is like the 7th option from the top, you'll notice the first two options on your phone: auto video upload or use cellular data. So if you turn on auto video upload, then whenever your device syncs when it's connected to Wi-Fi, we'll automatically upload the videos in your video library here to Blast Connect. If you turn on use cellular data, then every single swing in real time will get uploaded and every single video in real time will get uploaded. So if you want to turn that setting on, definitely want to make sure you have an unlimited data plan. Otherwise, you'll probably burn through that pretty quickly. Now, if you want to turn both off, then you'll have to manually upload your swings. There's not much to it though. And you'll have to manually upload your video. There's going to be a little bit more to that. So if those settings are turned off, then if you're taking swings in a park, for example, if you're outside and you're not anywhere near Wi-Fi, you're just on the cellular network, then when you get home and your phone connects to Wi-Fi, all you have to do is open up the Blast Baseball app, iPhone or Android, and leave it there for a couple of minutes. That just makes sure, again, on the Wi-Fi network, anything you've captured for that day or even in the days prior, anything that's stored on the device is getting sent to the cloud. For videos, you'll have to actually go ahead and physically access your video library. So that's available by going to the Swings tab in the bottom right, then the video library in the top right, and select which videos you want to share to Blast Connect. For the iPhone, you'll select those videos by clicking on the 3 dots also up near the top right of your screen, and then tapping on any video. A big share option pops up from the bottom of your screen, and you can click that to share it to Blast Connect. But for Android, you're actually going to press and hold a video tile, and that'll launch that selection tool. And from there, you'll be able to tap and select those videos there. So just wanted to make that clear for anybody who maybe is in here and says that you're taking more swings, or there's 300 swings on the app. Why is there only X amount in Blast Connect? Just because you probably just have to run a quick sync. And again, updates it in real time as long as you leave that app open and let it run. So now, once those swings are in there, this is the coach view. So coaches can see any player from the organization, their metric averages, their swing quality averages, and any ball flight swings they've taken with the Blast ball flight feature. I do warn you about the ball flight feature. It has to be a perfect environment in order to use that. If you're curious about how to set it up, you can just Google Blast Motion Ball Flight. There's a quick minute-long video that runs you through everything. You guys in the facility, I know, have technology that's a lot more accurate and easier to use than that. So I would stick with that if you guys can. Our bread and butter is going to be all the pre-impact stuff. So plane, connection, rotation, bat speed, etc. What does that all mean? I'll get into that. But what's available to you guys as players is our insights. So if I am Bodie here and I want to know where to start, if I log into Blast Connect, I'm brought right to this page. And this is accessible by any coach at New York Empire as well. You'll see your average plane, connection, and rotation scores. Here's an explanation of what rotational acceleration is. Here's an analysis of your swing. And here's bullet points on why that area of your swing is important, how it affects outcomes. And then beneath that are specific drills that you can do. Now, I know you guys are getting detailed plans from your coaches. If you want to potentially try some of these drills, go ahead. I would run it by your coaches just to make sure you're not getting away from their plan. And also keep in mind what Blast Motion suggests might not be best for you based on who you are. So your coaches really know the right questions to ask when they're approaching this data. So I would make sure that if you do want to go another direction or feel differently, always consult with them before you start to make changes on your own. So as far as what questions you should ask, again, Blast looks at the metrics, takes your worst metric, and suggests drills based on that. Well, I think that based on who you are as a player, as well as the time of year and how you're going to best help your team offensively, that might point you in a different direction than what Blast Motion suggests. So, Bodie, I know I don't know you, but what I mean by that is, let's say that you are a contact hitter and you're going to do your best when you just put the ball in play and you have deep at-bats, 6-7 pitch at-bats, really wear down that starting pitcher and are just a troubling at-bat, always putting pressure on the defense by hitting balls hard in play, and you do not strike out. Well, if those are the outcomes that you're looking for, then it's not rotational acceleration that you're going to want to work on. It's actually your on-plane efficiency. Now that's your best metric. And if the season is right around the corner, now we're getting into time of year. If the season is right around the corner, maybe going from 2.7 Gs to 5 Gs isn't going to help your game, again, because of who you are, as much as going from 83% to 90%. So again, Blast Motion could put you in the right direction, but because you know yourself a little bit better than this technology and your coaches know this technology as well as who you are, probably the best, make sure that make sure that they're asking the right questions, make sure you're asking the right questions, and make sure the best plan is put out there. But again, just wanted to cover a few of the resources that are available to you guys here on Blast Connect. Quick question from Andrew. When I tried taking swings, there was no cellular connection and the app would not run. Do we need to access cellular network for Blast Motion to work? No, you should be able to run the app on airplane mode as long as Bluetooth is enabled. It's just an app. It runs right on your device. The swing should be able to be sent from the sensor to the device. Now, again, it'll only be stored locally on that device, but you still should be able to capture your swings. Now, features like the training center and our insights tab won't be available because that needs to communicate data and information with the cellular network to grab that from wherever it's coming from. But you should be able to capture swings on that sensor.
So what might be the challenge? What can he do right now to get back up and running? Because I don't know if he's the only one challenged right now. What can he look at, or what should he look at to get himself up and running? Where after the webinar, should he reach directly out to tech support? What's the best solution for him and other people who are having trouble getting on the app?
I'd probably have him reach right out to tech support. If I were to try to troubleshoot it right here, I would just make sure that sensor's charged, make sure when it's on that it's blinking, and make sure in the top right of your screen you have that little green circle. From there, make sure you go to the live tab and hit start practice. If that circle's up there and you have that start practice page up with all the metrics laid out, ready to go, then when you take a swing, that should work. And if for whatever reason it's not communicating, then definitely call tech support.
Andrew, if you're still having problems by the end of this, or anybody, if you're having problems from anything, logging in to running the app to seeing your data, by the end of this call, if you're still having trouble, reach out to me. We'll connect to tech support and get you up and running by tomorrow.
Cool.
And one thought for everybody on the call, and certainly for you, Jeff, our approach as an organization, all the way up through age 14, is pretty clear, right? None of it is built around just make contact, put the ball in play. We're teaching skills that scale right now, even if it means that at any given moment, somebody strikes out when the team needed them to just make contact. We'd rather see that every player in the organization, particularly in our travel organization, is learning skills that scale, right? They're learning how to have the very best swing that they can have today, build the athleticism, build the movement, so that by the time they're 16, 17, 18, they still have or have built a swing that's going to perform at higher and higher levels, rather than have a swing that will put the ball in play at age 10 or 12. Because even though that'll bring short-term success for the moment or for an individual game, we're not worried about wins and losses at 10U baseball. We want every player here to play for as long as they can, and teaching them to just make contact is not going to get them as far as their dreams are going to take them. We want them out there learning to swing as hard as they can, have them, we want to maximize all three scores, right? We want rotational acceleration that's just off the charts for their size. We want planes that are, we don't even want them at 100. We want a plane score of over 100. We want extra credit on plane. And certainly, we'll talk tonight about how connection and plane tie together. So yeah, we want maximum scores on all of them, but what you said is very well taken. We just finished a webinar with the folks at On Base U and TPI, Greg Rose, and he points out over and over how different athletes, there's not one right way to do anything, but there is one efficient way for each individual athlete to do everything, and it's going to differ from athlete to athlete. So love that you pointed that out, right? Somebody like, let's say, again, Declan Walsh and Ari Litt, two completely different athletes. They're going to go about their business slightly differently, but that doesn't change the fact that their plane score should be exceptionally high if they want to be successful hitters. You just can't compare one to the other in terms of rotational acceleration, because the way they generate power will be different. Is that all fair to say?
Absolutely. And want to share something to help the guys build on that. And I hope it's more constructive than anything, but here are the averages from Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball. So these are the guys that obviously they got drafted and they're currently fulfilling their dreams. But there's a huge difference between the minor league and the major league swing. So here's a metric like rotational acceleration. This is the minor league average. Here it is. And this is the major league average. That's how much it shifts from left to right. So these are the guys, down here in the orange that are playing in packed stadiums, well, semi-packed stadiums nowadays, and I guess with no fans this year, but these are the guys that are making millions of dollars. Now, over here, these guys have made it, but they're in North Dakota and they just ate 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner and are on an 8-hour bus ride.
Ouch.
Yeah. So,
how about the leftover hot dogs from the minor league stadium, Jeff?
Oh, yep. Been there. It's the same. It's the same with every metric. So it is really important to be able to execute at a high level, swing after swing. And the fact that you guys are teaching that at this age, and also using these types of technologies, because these kids are going to have to be familiar with these types of terms, for the future. This kind of stuff is taking over the game. It's taking over development. And it's really great that at this age, you guys are beginning to understand what on-plane efficiency is, what connection is, what rotation is, and why it's important. One of the very, very few organizations that are doing this kind of stuff at this scale with kids this age. It's really something special. So with that, let me get into what what plane connection and rotation are. Obviously, they're important to execute at a high level, but how do they typically influence outcomes, and how do they and what do they mean, and how can you improve them? So keep in mind these scores, when you look at your plane connection and rotation scores, are just weighted averages based on your level of play. So your on-plane efficiency as a percentage translates into your on-plane score. And depending on what level of play you set, that score is going to be different. So if I put youth in there and I swing and my on-plane efficiency is 70%, then I might get a score of 60, because for my age, that's pretty darn good. But if I set my level to college, then it might only be a 55, which is still pretty solid. But obviously, because those guys are able to execute at a little bit of a higher level and also more consistently, it doesn't fall into this distribution as highly as it would if I was a lot younger. So what is the swing plane? Now, each swing is going to have its own swing plane, and what it's defined by is your vertical bat angle. So that's just the position of your bat at impact. A 0-degree vertical bat angle would be completely flat out in front of you, and a negative 40-degree vertical bat angle would be a really, really steep bat. So typically your bat is anywhere between negative 5 degrees and negative 50 degrees. Wherever that bat is, we'll take that bat, draw a line through that player's center of rotation, and then connect those two lines with a 3-dimensional ellipse, a 3-dimensional circle. So what on-plane efficiency measures is from the very start of your swing, when do you enter into that circle, and how long do you stay on that circle? The higher that number is, the more direct your barrel is to the baseball, and the more efficient your swing is, the less clutter you have on the way there. So if you imagine somebody who has a really, really loopy swing, or a very, or even Derek Jeter's warm-up swing where he kind of comes down real quick and goes up, he is not direct to the baseball. Now, those are cues in the on-deck circle that maybe help him when he's up there at bat. But you could probably imagine what a inefficient swing looks like compared to one that gets in that slot and is directly to the baseball from there. Now, it goes hand in hand with connection, especially early connection, because the farther off you are based on where you're starting your swing, the more distance you're actually creating and more movement your bat has to kind of go through before it can get on plane. So if you take this picture right here of Nick Swisher, this isn't when we measure early connection. We measure it at foot plant. I know his foot's still in the air, but let's say, just for example's sake, this is where he's starting his swing from. So this would be between his bat and body, an early connection measurement of around 115 degrees, let's say. So you can see at 115 degrees, that distance his bat has between where the bat is and the swing plane. So after he starts his swing, that barrel has to travel all this extra distance to get on plane with either of these swings, whether it's up or down. It's going to be really difficult for him to turn that barrel in such a tight window and get to a ball up in the zone. Now, if you imagine what 90 degrees would look like, having that bat flat out behind his head, look how much closer he is to either of these swing planes. That can really, really help improve your on-plane efficiency just by taking a look at your early connection and trying to work it closer to 90 degrees. Along with attack angle, on-plane efficiency gives you a really, really good opportunity to put the ball in play. So if you take a look at both these players, the guy on the right at 79%, phenomenal score, but that significantly negative attack angle really only has one opportunity to put that ball in play. His swing's direct, his swing's efficient, but because he's coming so significantly down on the baseball, he's cutting off his ability to get to anything where he's maybe too early or anything where he's a little too late. Where the guy on the left, 85% really good attack angle, 12.9, he's countering the angle of that pitch coming in. So he can be late. Hey, he might scare the crap out of his teammates and hit a laser into the first base dugout, but at least he's still up there battling with 2 strikes. This ball will go and play. This ball will go and play. This ball will go and play. And, that really, really helps these guys out, especially when you're facing dudes who are throwing, 90 miles an hour with a changeup. You got to make sure you're on that ball as long as possible, especially with 2 strikes. Another reason it's important to execute is that we actually did some research in the Cape Cod League last year and took their best performers, guys with the most home runs, highest batting averages, least amount of strikeouts, most amount of highest barrel ball percentages, and looked at all of the blast metrics for the entire league and tried to determine what metrics set these guys apart from the rest of the pack. And what it was on-plane efficiency. The guys who had a higher average on-plane efficiencies had higher had better outcomes in all those categories I just mentioned. So it's almost like it's almost like pitching velocity and accuracy as bat speed is to on-plane efficiency. Bat speed is actually going to be the number one predictor of success at the younger ages, but that's only the case because the pitching is still kind of all over the place. And if you can swing it hard, you can get away with having certain deficiencies. But when those players who can get away with the faster bat speed, but a less refined swing get to the next level, when pitchers are smarter, there's information, there's data, there's scouting reports. Those holes that those guys have can be so much more easily exposed. And these guys who have much more efficient and much more direct swings have less holes as a result. They already have the bat speed. So that's why they're putting more balls in play and are having more success out there on the field.
Hey, Jeff, it always comes up, and I want to just talk through this with you very, very quickly. Every swing is different. You look at the 19,000 some odd players that have played baseball, you got like 19,000 different swings, right? Nobody's exactly the same. But I was having a chat with one of our players the other night. I said the one thing that is shared across the best players in the history of baseball, and really all 19,000 of them for the most part, is that once you're at that level, and certainly the best of the best have the highest connection scores and the highest on-plane scores, regardless of style, regardless of power. It doesn't matter if they were home run hitters, none of that. And you look at some of the home run hitters who strike out 200 plus times a year, they actually have pretty low on-plane scores, high connection scores, right? But the best hitters, the best overall hitters in the history of the game, regardless of what their swing looked like on TV, had extremely high connection and extremely high plane. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say, and they do it swing after swing. Very, very consistent.
Yeah, it's amazing. No matter what your style is, if you get plane, no matter how you get there, you get plane and connection right, no matter how much power you have, how big you are, how small you are, if you get those two things right, you hit successfully.
Yep. Find more barrels. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with the feeling where you perfectly barrel up a ball. Does not feel like you hit it. Doesn't even feel like you hit anything. I tried to explain to my girlfriend back in college, now fiance, that the best feeling in the world was hitting a home run, just because you hit the ball right in the sweet spot. It flows, everything flows, all that energy coming from your body goes to the bat, and that transfers over to the ball. You don't feel any feedback. She didn't like that very much, but I still stand by that.
Congratulations on the fiance thing at the very least. She didn't get the whole energy transfer and sweet spot thing, but at least she got the ring, and you guys are going to live happily ever after.
That's right. Okay. Connection. This is probably, this was my favorite one to talk about. I'd say it's the most interesting and the most important to consistently execute. So early connection, really easy to understand. Bat body relationship at foot plant. Pretty much right when you are ready to take that bat forward, your load, whatever you want to call it. This is what it measures: your bat and your body. Guys who are here, like where Nick Swisher was in that picture, they're going to struggle getting on plane because that bat has to travel down extra distance before it can get on that plane. They're going to have a tendency to lose that barrel and get underneath balls and hit weak fly balls to the opposite side, and they're going to really struggle on pitches up in the zone. Now, they'll be a little bit hotter on balls down in the zone, but I would prefer to be more balanced here at 90 degrees. And then guys less than 90 degrees are going to have a tough time getting the balls down. They're going to hit a lot of balls off their front foot. Their bat's going to have to go up, down, and around, going to get on top of a lot of balls, probably have a flatter attack angle, if not negative, and it'll be harder to make that consistent. So they'll be better off hitting balls up in the zone, but again, anything down, they're going to really struggle with. What is even more important than being at 90 degrees, I would say, is executing a consistent load. A lot of times with younger players, and we can take a look at a couple guys as we get deeper into this, I'll see somebody have an average early connection score of 98 degrees, which is pretty good. But when you actually go and look at every single swing, here they are at 98, here they are at 120, here they are at 82, here they are at 106, whatever the distribution might be, it just happens to average out to 98. So on paper, they look okay. But when you actually go down and break it out swing to swing, they're starting their swing from completely different locations and completely different bat and body relationships every single time. And it's going to be really, really hard to have success if you can't do that. So early connection is one of those metrics that I mentioned earlier that I think swing to swing, you can take a look at and you can pay attention to, and you can really try to feel that and make those adjustments. So I would take a swing, turn around, make sure your early connection and your connection at impact are both dialed in right at 90 degrees. If they're not around there, make sure that they're staying consistent. So you said it before, it was Jordan, everybody's got their different stance and style. This is not, we're not measuring early connection here. This is just Ryan Braun and Buster Posey's batting stance. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a massive bat waggle. There's his load. When his foot hits the ground though, boom, he gets right back to where he needs to be. And that's where he's going to start his swing from. Now, younger guys who have a lot of movement might tend to mistime that pitch and have to start their swing from here. Now, if you got to start your downswing from there with such a vertical bat and you are expecting to get back to 90 degrees, you know, you're not going to have success on that swing. So that, again, that's why it's important to just make sure you're consistently getting to that point at 90 degrees, and then we'll see him rotate around that center axis from there and get back to 90 degrees at impact. Now, connection at impact. Same thing, bat-body relationship at contact. What we want to see is a consistent bat and body relationship at no matter the pitch location. So if I play this video of Justin Turner here, there's low and outside, there's up and in. You'll see the bat flattens out, but his body also becomes more upright. We actually found that it's more efficient to make adjustments based on pitch location, not by actually changing your swing or throwing your hands, whatever it might be, changing your swing. It's more efficient to actually just change your body tilt a couple degrees over home plate or a couple degrees more upright, and let that bat change along with it.
So it's interesting. We have a drill that we've been using for some time now called BBSB. It's short for bend equals side bend, and it's your hip hinge, you know, your bend forward at foot strike, your bend forward at first move, and then your side bend at impact. And if those three things equal each other, it's exactly what you're describing. You don't use your hands to correct for the location of the pitch, or you just don't transfer energy very well, right? If you swing around your spine and that angle is 90 degrees, then you transfer energy better than someone who doesn't do that. So having the bend equal your side bend in your swing, you were connected early and you were connected at impact. Your swing was great and it had the most possible energy in it. Is that all accurate, and we can measure that with blast?
Yep, all accurate. You can measure it with blast. And that's why I think it's important to change that location of the tee. So if you want to pay attention to connection and impact, what I would suggest is hit a couple pitches with, hit a couple pitches with the tee up and in and see what your connection and impact score is. Then move the tee down and away. Take a couple swings there and see if that score stays the same or see if it changes one direction or the other. This is just an example of how to monitor some metrics in season. I won't cover that. I'll cover that with Jordan in the future, but rotational acceleration. This has been my favorite metric to talk about recently. So it is your 0 to 60 time, basically. How quickly can you get your bat to top speed? We're only measuring this in this window, pretty much in the first quarter of your swing, that very first movement. Guys who are stronger, guys who are better movers, more efficient movers, and guys that are in proper sequence when they're swinging will have higher rotation numbers. So it just in this first movement right here, how close do I get my bat to top speed? If you divided your swing up into quarters and you had two players, both who swing with a max bat speed of 40 miles an hour, one guy with 15 Gs of rotation and one guy with 6 Gs of rotational acceleration, the guy with the 15 Gs might go from 0 to 25 in that first quarter, and then, or let's say he'll go from 0 to 20 in that first quarter, 20 to 40 in the second quarter, and now he is top speed through the last half of his swing through impact. The guy who has 6 Gs of rotation might go 0 to 15 and then 15 to 30 and then make up for 30 to 40 in the final quarter, and then only be able to carry his bat through impact for that at top speed through impact for that final fourth. You will see some players in there with faster bat speeds but slower time to contacts than guys with slower bat speeds but better rotational acceleration. Another analogy I give is, because it's such a short race, if you consider 2 race cars, right? It's such a short race from the start of your downswing to impact. If you took a Ferrari and you took a 1998, I don't even know if any of you guys were born yet in 1998, but an old Honda Accord, and the Ferrari was only able to top out at 60 miles an hour for this race. The Honda Accord could go as fast as it wants, but they're only racing 100 yards. So the gun goes off, the Ferrari in 3 seconds is already at 60 miles an hour, but it has to stop there, where the Honda is slowly gaining speed. Here it is at 60, now it's at 70, but because the race is so short, the Ferrari is going to finish first every single time because the Honda doesn't have enough time to catch up. So that's why rotational acceleration is so impactful on your time to contact, because of that short race. And because if you want more time to see the pitch in, it's not really all about bat speed. It does have something to do with it, but it's really all about rotation. And that's why this metric here is going to be the #1 predictor of success in the major leagues, the most important. It's also the hardest to improve and the hardest to train on. For example, the number one culprit for a poor rotation score is somebody being out of sequence. If you take me, for example, I've been hooked up to the K motion, and my sequencing is 1. Or it's like 1 and 2 are at the same time. So I only really have 3 steps. It's like 1, 1, 2, 3. So my hips and my shoulders go at the same time. I'm not able to create, if you look at A-Rod right here, I'm not able to create that separation between my lower half and shoulders. So if I, just went on Blast Motion's website and picked out a couple of drills that had to do with improving sequencing, that wouldn't work for me, because it's not because of my sequencing or swing mechanics that I have a poor rotation score. I would need to take a step back even further. It's because I'm too tight. I'm too tight to create that separation. So the reason my hips and shoulders both fire at the same time is because when I try to create that separation, my shoulders go as well right there with my hips. And now I'm just swinging with my arms and hands. So without that knowledge, I'd be working with the probability that I'll have no positive outcome just because I'm working wrong. So that's where your coaches are going to come in handy here. This is a really difficult metric to improve. Bat speed, again, just the top speed of your barrel, usually occurs just before impact. Something to note here, A-Rod's got insane rotation. This is a major league pitch. This ball is just entering the frame when he starts to bring his bat forward. He ends up catching up to it and driving it to right field. Just think that's pretty cool.
So Jeff, is it fair to say I got to load correctly to maximize rotational acceleration, regardless of how big I am? I have to use the right size bat for me today. I have to load correctly. I should be working on strength and sequencing, right? Everything else is going to be handled by the other scores that we've talked about tonight. And that's one of the reasons why this is so difficult, because building strength, particularly at age 8, 10, 12, 14 years old, right? Testosterone hasn't kicked in yet, or maybe for one of our players it kicked in at about 6, Declan. But other than that, this is something that takes time to build, because it's strength related, it's load related, and it's even bat weight related. Make sure I have the right bat for my size and strength on that particular day or season. So correcting swing plane is movement based and positional, where correcting rotational acceleration requires that I actually work out. I need to build my lower half. I need to build my core. I need to build my upper half. I need to connect them all with my movements. So is that kind of tie it all together?
Tie it all together. Also, don't forget about flexibility. So I'll give another example. For my college team, we did a ton of Olympic lifting. Lots of squatting, lots of deadlift, lots of bench. Now, that was the same plan for the whole team. And looking back on it, I got really, really strong, like really strong. And that was fun. But that I think just tightened me up. So that where if you took a kid who was a little more wiry, a little more loose, that might be a good workout for him.
Yep.
But somebody like me who was kind of already strong to begin with, or strong enough anyway, I could do a little bit of those types of lifts. But that program and that plan was not best for my makeup. So the whole plan for rotational acceleration is really, really individual.
So it's great. I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to give an example that'll really speak to our players on the pitching side of the world. We had a high school kid throwing 79 miles an hour, super wiry, lanky, hypermobile, no strength, no testosterone, didn't even smell bad after he worked out for 2 hours, looked like a bag of string beans as a body, and couldn't increase his velo, worked on mechanics. Worked with drive lines, put a program together for him. He didn't do any weighted balls, velo programs. He didn't do a thing for almost a month, Jeff. He lifted weights, ate more, worked on strength, worked on lower body, worked on his core strength. I don't have to tell you the rest of the story, right? That was the first month. Did not even do video analysis of his pitching. Nobody cared, because he just didn't have the strength to improve. It just wasn't there. Put him on an individualized plan, and the rest of everybody on this call knows the story. He's now chucking 93 miles an hour and deciding whether or not Dartmouth is the right move, or do I go get myself drafted with my 2,800 RPM curveball and my 93 mile an hour fastball. Yeah.
Dartmouth always has really, really good pitching.
They're going to have even more good pitching in the next few days, because he's heading up there. He's actually going back out to Driveline next week because they're reopening, and he starts Dartmouth end of August. So just, back to your point, individualized workout plan, something we've been doing now for the better part of a year and a half. Individualized workout plan is required for improvement, right? Not everybody is the same athlete, and being the best athlete you can be is the foundation for development, short and long term, right? These things don't improve. Like if Jeff and Jordan do the same workout, they're not ending up in necessarily in a good place together.
Correct.
And we may even look the same. Hold on. I gotta put the hat backwards. We may even look the same and be roughly the same size. It doesn't mean we move the same.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So that's why we're so excited. Not to just keep beating a dead horse. So excited to combine blast motion with K motion on our platform, because understanding every body and why it moves the way it does, not just how it moves or what it's doing, with what the bat is doing as a result, and then being able to put together individualized workouts. I'm thrilled and amazed by what you guys are bringing.
Thank you. Last point here with rotation. You saw how long Alex Rodriguez was able to wait and see that pitch in. So he's starting his swing when the balls are here in this third circle. If you have poor rotation and your time to contact is higher, then you're starting your swing back here in number 2 or number 1. And you can see how much closer those balls are grouped together. I don't know if you guys have Twitter or have heard of this guy, the Pitching Ninja. I think he has videos on YouTube as well, or if you just watch pitching videos in general. Anyway, what he does is he overlays videos of major league pitchers throwing their pitches. So you'll see Noah Syndergaard. It's like, here's Noah Syndergaard's sinker, and here's his cutter. And all the mechanics are the same. The ball comes out of the hand. Both balls are completely on top of each other. Both balls are completely on top of each other here in number 1 and here in number 2. Then all of a sudden, one dives aggressively arm side and one dives aggressively glove side. If you have to start your swing, if you're going to try to hit that pitch, if you have to start your swing in circle 1 or 2, you better guess right. Otherwise, you're gonna be going and taking a seat on the bench. So that's why really at this level, when guys are throwing some heat, it's extremely important to make sure that's dialed in. And again, the fact that you're working to not only improve this but understand it, and just figure out the right ways of moving and the right ways of training is amazing. It really is. Rotational acceleration can also, this is more for you, Jordan, can also be used as a workload monitor, or we had Dallas Baptist this year use it as, I don't know how I would describe it, but their shortstop tore minor tear in his ACL or MCL in the fall season, rehabbed it for 4 months leading up to February, And because his rotational acceleration numbers weren't where they were, I gave him his Cape League data, weren't where they were when he was in the Cape. They didn't have him start the year. He finally came back just before the season ended, played in a few games because he got his numbers back to where he was. But this type of metric, because it's so it's a good indicator of how dynamic or how athletic you are, can help tell you when somebody's back to their original form. And here, this player's taking more and more swings, really, really loading up. And as he's loading up, his rotational acceleration is going down. This is a real minor league baseball player. So if you're rolling out a new weight program for somebody, you know, I would if it's Olympic lifting, for example, if that guy's never squatted before, I don't expect it to be for kids this age. But you know, if they're still getting used to it, they're getting really sore, I would expect rotation to go down, but then I would expect it to turn back up. If it doesn't, then that's probably not the right plan for that player, and you got to go a different route. So lots of cool applications of this too, beyond just what happens out there on the field and time to contact. So that's all I've got for you guys. I like to open it up to questions, unless Jordan, you want me to add or talk about anything else?
No, listen, I think we're off to an amazing start. I mean, I'm getting text messages from guys instead of in the chat box, which is awesome. Some great feedback already. We got guys using it while you're talking. You know, I was going to say, you know, if you don't have any questions, now if you do have questions, jump in, because the reality is any question you have is probably shared by the group. It would be great to have anybody, any question. Nothing is off limits. What's most important is that everybody on this call and everybody who's going to watch the replay tonight, get tested, get up and running, because, you know, we're in a unique time right now where you have all the time in the world to train, right? You're not in the cage taking swings and taking hacks. No, you're working on improvement, so focused, right? So use this time wisely, get this up and running. If it's not working by tonight, email me, text me, call me, whatever you need. Jeff will get involved. The entire Blast Motion team has been super helpful from even before the day we installed our first bat sensor. They're all there to help get you set up, and then we'll analyze everything and get everybody an individualized plan to keep working. So don't wait another day, right? Get your sensor charged, get set up. If you have a question about anything, either share it now or jump in tomorrow, or send me a note, and I'll have the Blast Motion team online. So Nate's got a question here. He says a lot of wiffle ball swings don't register. Is it not picking up the impact, Jeff?
Yep, not picking up the impact. I mentioned it before. If you swing like below 40 miles an hour or above 60 miles an hour, you'll get a lot of non-actions.
So the combination of the swing and possibly the ball makes a difference. So change out the wiffle ball you're using, or change out, because we've used it with some black and yellow light flight, you know, limited flight 8-tech balls. It works pretty well, but some of the lightweight white wiffle balls don't work very well.
Yep.
Switch even to tennis balls and you'll be fine. So Ion asked a great question. He said, hey, if I use the weighted balls, will it pick that up? It sure will. Keep in mind one thing. If the weighted ball is so heavy that it affects your swing after impact, your plane score will actually go down. So don't worry so much about that. We'll take a look at it. The best thing you can use is either an incredible ball like a squish ball, because it doesn't affect it, or a baseball, of course. A tennis ball is great. And if you have a wiffle ball that is registering well, that's great. A ball that's too light, the sensor needs that impact. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, sensor needs that impact to know when you actually hit the ball.
Funnily enough, I don't know if you guys ever come across the Brooklyn Bulldogs, but they were, when this started happening in March, they were sharing videos with us of their guy. I think we pushed them out on Twitter, but they ball up like Nike athletic socks. So you probably have to go into your dad's sock drawer because they're a little bit bigger. But if you ball those up and you rip those things in the house, they explode and turn back from a ball to a sock so they don't break things. So if you guys are only able to swing inside in a New York City apartment, hitting socks is the way to go. And those will register more often than a wiffle ball.
That's awesome. Great stuff. Yeah, actually, we play against the Brooklyn Bulldogs on occasion. And there are like 47 different Bulldogs teams around the New York area. But the Brooklyn Bulldogs are in some sense friends of ours because we love playing against each other. They're a good organization, and we have a lot of fun with their coaches behind the scenes as well.
Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah, I work with Adam and Mark. They're good guys.
Yeah. So anybody have any other questions at the moment, or can everybody just hop online, start swinging? If you have a problem, anything from setup on up to the actual swing captures, all the way to the data, do not hesitate to email or call or text, whatever you need. Jeff and the entire team in Blast Motion, and certainly our coaching staff are here to help, and we'll be coming back on the KGO platform with your individualized workouts. All right, so if no other questions, good stuff. Enjoy your dinner, everybody. Jeff, thanks for making the time and stopping your evening. Tell your fiance we appreciate your time. It's great stuff.
Will do. And to contact support, if you guys are still having sensor issues or anything, there's a couple ways to do so. So here in Blast Connect or in the app, there's a help option. It's found down here in the bottom right. So you can click that and then put in a ticket here. Still need support. You can also just Google Blast Motion customer support, and there's a phone number right there, 1-855-632-5278. If you call them, you'll leave a voicemail, and someone usually calls back in about 10 minutes.
Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. Jeff, again, can't thank you enough. Thanks for all the help from day zero. You guys are great.
You got it, brother.
Hey,
Get after it, guys.
All right, guys. Have an awesome night. If you need anything, let us know.
See ya.
Thanks again, Jeff.
You got it.